Hi. Thanks for joining us for the Eastside Church of Christ 5 by 5 by 5 Bible reading for the week of February 27th through March 6th, 2021. I'm Zeke. I'm your host for this week's summary. We'll be reading through Hebrews chapters 9 through 13 this week. In Hebrews chapter 9, as we continue in this wonderful book, Hebrews 9 is a masterful statement to readers that while Moses' law had special significance, it reflected realities that were to be fulfilled by Christ. The high priest of the Mosaic covenant would enter the Holy of Holies once a year during the Day of Atonement, but Jesus, the great high priest, entered the holiest place of all with the holiest sacrifice of all, himself. And by this sacrifice, the shedding of his blood, he inaugurated and mediated a new and better covenant that doesn't require any more sacrifices. His sacrifice was truly one time for all time. Hebrews chapter 10 continues to identify ways in which Jesus' sacrifice is superior. While the rivers of blood that were shed from those animal sacrifices under the old covenant only reminded man of his sin, Jesus provided such a perfect sacrifice that, once offered, would never be offered again. The Hebrew writer then encourages his readers to draw confidence from this while also admonishing them not to lag behind in diligence as the day of judgment approaches. Of course, one way that he tells us to do that is by our meeting together. In Hebrews chapter 11, that great hall of faith, we're introduced to those who endured by faith. And of course, that connects us with the thoughts from chapter 10, verses 32 through 39. We see that faith is expressed in obedient action, whether it's for the people before the great flood, for Noah and his sons after the great flood, during the patriarchal times, during the great exodus from Egypt, or any other time. The writer implores his readers to be faithful and not to give up. In Hebrews 12, we continue to see where the writer encourages readers to persevere by reminding of Jesus' own steadfastness during difficult times. And speaking of difficulties, sometimes those difficulties are intended to discipline us, to shape us, to teach us. While discipline is hard to take, and the Hebrew writer acknowledges that, the goal is to produce righteousness. Therefore, the writer implores his readers to remember the positive effect that chastening can have on their character. Finally, Hebrews 13 concludes the letter with a series of exhortations to readers concerning practical ways to live a life of faith. Among them are brotherly love, respect for the marriage covenant, and esteem for godly leaders. Finally, the inspired writer offers a prayer that his readers would rely on God, who equips his own for every good thing to do his will, as he puts it in verse 21. Well, that's a summary for this week's 5 by 5 by 5 Bible reading, and I hope that you'll join us for next week's summary. Thanks for watching. We appreciate it. God bless.